Hello, a higher note community. Welcome back to yet another One Thing 30-minute expert interview. Today, I have a special treat for you. I could say that I have a person who's, exciting, but how often do you get to have a showman on your show? Okay, so today we have an actual real life showman. Shawn K, the Showman, is very broad in his talents. He produces music, writes music, sings it, does shows, does live events, helps creatives develop their entrepreneurial side. Shawn K, the Showman, really does it all, and that's his moniker. Shawn K, the Showman. He really does do it all. So I'm going to introduce you, bring out Shawn K, so you can meet him. Hello, Shawn.
Hi, Natalie. How you doing today?
Doing great. So
that was a great intro. I appreciated that intro. I'm always keeping an ear out on how people how did they going to describe me coming into this show? But that was really good. I appreciate that.
I know you'd like to write out for people exactly what you would like them to say that makes you sound like larger than life, but you don't want to sound too good if you don't want to bring people down. If you're like, well, I'm not all that. So yeah, Shawn.
Well, I like to think that I am all that.
You are all that, and that is why you have your moniker is Do It All. So right. And Shawn's media production company is actually called DIA Media. So.
Which I hope you can guess what DIA is. Which I hope you can guess what DIA is an abbreviation.
Do it all, right?
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, I was like, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Exactly.
In all your branding, it's excellent, really good. So now this interview, as you already know, is not necessarily for entrepreneurs, although some of them might be. Okay, and every singer has to be able to put themselves out there a bit like an entrepreneur when they're trying to develop their career. But this is a lot of the people in the higher note community are people who are developing their voice, developing their stage presence, developing themselves as they might not call themselves entertainers, but we are all performers in one way or another. And in a lot of ways, we are all providing entertainment, but people may not quite think of themselves yet that way.
Absolutely.
So let's launch in, because we're going to try to keep this to 30 minutes. And you have such a broad variety. I spent some time on your website and watch several of your videos, and you do a lot of things. So I'm very excited for people to have the opportunity to hear from you, and also to be able to go interact with you afterward if they would like to. And everyone, I want you to know that you'll have an opportunity if entertainment you think is something you might be interested in, media productions, songwriting, any of those kinds of things, Shawn really can be a resource to you. And he actually has a special gift for you that we'll tell you about at the end of this time, and that I think you'll be really, really excited about. So hang with us through this interview, and let's enjoy everything that Shawn has to share with us about his life and his experiences and all of his one things. So all of our lives are so broad, and there's so many things that influence us, that make us who we are. There are habits that we form that are things that are important to us, relationships that are important to us. But in this interview, I try to look and talk with the interviewee each about different categories, about the one thing in that category that if they could distill it down to one thing, or if they had to choose one of those, the many influences, that this would be the one thing that they would say. Okay, so Shawn, our first question. Is there one thing, a statement or a concept, a compelling message, or some type of call or drive, any type of particular encouragement that you received that you can point to in your life? And I know you've been doing this for a long time, since you were about 7. that compelled you to sing, and further, that drove you to entertain and perform in general?
Man, it's a little bit of a loaded question because I feel like I was brought up in a world that I guess wasn't as encouraging towards the entertainment world or, going into music. Music was something that actually was kind of, let's call it, forced onto me because even when I was 7 years old, that first time I sang was an Indian church convention, and I come from a singing family, and my parents forced me to go up on stage and sing this song, and it was more so just kind of like Indian parents just being Indian parents and be like, oh, you got some talent, we got to show everybody type of thing, and you're a kid and you're afraid and you're scared and you just don't really want to do it. And so even after that, it wasn't something that was super passionate to me. And then I kind of stuck through singing through like middle school and high school, and I was in boys choirs and shows choirs and concert choirs. And I never had any formal training, but it was after high school, I actually got more into dancing. And so then I became a little bit more of like a live dancer, performer. And then that's when I got into the entertainment industry as a bar and bat mitzvah dancer. And then it was maybe a year and a half, 2 years after that. And I'll say also because I was a late bloomer when it came to, let's call it going through puberty and my physical development. So even when it came to my voice really didn't develop or start really developing until 17 or so. And so, I didn't have a lot of confidence with my voice at a younger age because I could not find my range, and it was really difficult. Then once I got 18, 19 and all that kind of stuff, and then I started singing again, then I noticed my voice started to really develop itself. And it still took years and years and years of practice of really just kind of using my voice that it started to develop more and more and more. And then, in my later years, closer to my 30s, is when I started actually developing music and I started writing, and more creative elements started coming in. So, my one thing I would say is finding out what it really means to show up, which is, the shirt that I'm wearing is Showman Shows Up. There's a huge content. Yeah. And that it really, that's what it is, and through how difficult times may be, just showing up and putting in the time and effort to just try, ultimately develops a lot more just, practice, but also clarity on what you need to do for yourself. So for me, my biggest practice, even to today, is karaoke. And I'm going to talk a little bit about a venture I developed just because for my love of karaoke. But doing karaoke, it's so funny because you talk to a lot of artists or musicians and they don't take karaoke very seriously. But karaoke is what I use to actually kind of stay sharp to the craft. And it's what I use to not only work through songs that maybe have come through my way that I've been kind of practicing and all that, but it also helps me to develop that practice on a stage with a microphone, through speakers, and in front of a live crowd. So, that really came into full play, I would say, in 2010, when I was in college, and there was a speakeasy that did karaoke 7 days a week, and I went there, and I was going there consistently. And this was in Chicago. I live in Dallas now, so. That's really what it is. My biggest thing is just you have to kind of just show up. You have to just put something into practice, an element, because if you just sit there and you contemplate what I'm going to do, what am I going to do, what am I going to do, how am I going to do it, you're just wasting time. It's a big thing. Worrying is a waste of emotion. The more time you just spend just worrying about something or how something's going to happen, you're not doing anything. You're not really showing up for anything. You're just sitting. And ultimately, you're just leaving yourself in your own thoughts, and that's never sometimes a good place to be. Yeah, it's never a good place to be. So that's I guess my number one thing, and I don't think anyone really gave that. Well, I would say my mentor Mars, which I just released a video, my Showman reel, and I talk a little bit about that and how he kind of was the catalyst to me going into the MC game and becoming a professional MC, but using my voice and what I'm able to do to develop that within my career and bring that part of my show element. So it's that I think that's the biggest thing, is just kind of just showing up. You just have to show up in some way, shape, or form. And that ultimately is the answer and the key to help give you the answers of what you individually need.
I am such a huge believer in making things so that you have to show up to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah. Right now, my biggest challenge, like I got back into stand-up comedy. So like 2 years ago, when I was in Chicago, in 2019, I did Second City, which is the big comedy institute. A lot of SNL people came through, and I did all 5 levels of their improv program. But during that time, I did a few stand-up open mics, and the first 4 I went to, I purposely went to fail. I purposely went to bomb so that I can feel internally that cricket, those crickets in the room, and now I'm back into it, and I've developed now, like I've been just cooking, I've just been writing, and I just, observing little things, little attention to details, or just things that kind of just pop into my head, and I write it down right away now. I get into a strong practice with that because I can't count on my brain to remember it later.
Oh no.
So
you already said you're past 30, so wink wink. Don't know the brain.
I just turned 35, literally. So this thank you so much. And so it's one of those things where like I don't feel old, but I know I'm not young. And so it's funny when I talk to certain people and they might be over 40 and they're like, oh, you're just a baby. I'm like, I'm not a baby. I might be a toddler. I've been walking for a little while.
Well, I feel like I'm 54. I feel
wow, I would not have guessed that.
Thanks.
You
I
look great,
feel like
Natalie.
every decade has brought something, that richer, deeper, fuller. And that you remember how you said when you were in your teen years and you were struggling with your voice, and that, often fatal period of time that boys go through, and it determines the trajectory of their singing life. Like they never sing again because they're so traumatized by their experience of not being able to depend upon their voice, not being able to find a comfortable way to live with it, and not being able to trust that it's going to come back to them. And then you found, like, when your voice did, when everything started coordinating again, then you found, oh wow, like it's a whole new, different me, and then launched your 20s. And there's something, there's just, and then your 20s, I'm sure, weren't easy. Nobody has I don't know anybody that has an easy life. And
trust me, I was happy to let go of my 20s when I turned 30. I was so happy to let go of it. That's why, that's when I shaved my head too.
Oh, nice. You're like, I'm done with the struggle. But yeah, it's every decade is good and brings something new that is going to enrich you, make you a different person, or just a better, deeper, fuller, richer person than you were before. And there's more that you can experience. You can experience life differently and more fully, and you can help more people with the experiences that you have, because they do that. I mean, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but it does seem like it gets harder with every decade. The challenges are harder. The joys are huger. And your gratefulness deepens and grows. But it definitely, I don't think life gets a lot easier. And so, but and because of that, like the more you live and the more you live into that, the more you can give and more you can help others. And which is another reason why I'm very excited about your gift that you have to give at the end. So that's another little plug for the end. So, all right. Okay, let's move to the next topic. Okay. So, and by the way, I saw in your bio, you mentioned that you sang a song. Did you sing in a Brian McKnight competition, or did you sing one of his songs?
Yeah, I just sang one of his songs. That was it was like it was a variety show, so kind of like the talent show of the school. And so, there was various acts. It wasn't just a singing like a singing showcase. It was
Okay.
just a talent showcase.
A talent
And
show.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that was like my first, because I sang in front of like family and friends, like well, I'll say more family. I sang in front of family and like the Indian community, but not in front of my peers. And so that eighth grade show, me singing 6-8-12 by Brian McKnight, that was the first time I sang in front of like a group of my peers, and that was an extremely nerve-wracking,
Oh,
but glorious result. And and it was one of those and it's funny, there's a picture, I have it, I think, within my profile, and I think one of my closest friends had sent it to me, but it's a picture of me going on stage, and all you see is this awkward, small little Indian kid with nothing but fear in his eyes. and so
I'm so proud of you of that eighth grader who did it scared. That's really, really awesome.
I'm a little proud of him too,
I'm
and it's so funny because sometimes I do think in my head, like, that scenario, like if you could actually go back and meet yourself as like a young kid, like what
Yeah.
would you say to him, and just be like, yo, it's gonna be all right.
Yeah, you're gonna live through this. You feel like your heart's
Yeah,
your
you're
throat,
gonna be
but you're gonna
all
live.
right.
Yeah,
So
and it's
yeah,
gonna it became a defining moment for you. I mean, clearly, because of
absolutely.
all the things you could have said in your bio, that was what you led off with. And that was
It was
very
a very
courageous.
vulnerable point.
Very vulnerable, yeah. And that was courageous as an eighth grader to do a Brian McKnight song, because
I
he's
would say so. It was a
incredible.
bold choice, pretty
It
bold
was a
choice. But
bold
I had the
choice.
range. I was a very high tenor, before
Right.
my puberty came in. So I was a very, very high tenor. So I was able to hit a little bit of those notes, but I still didn't have that much vocal control. But there was something there. So like it was enough to create enough, I guess, attention, or like, I guess, validity. Like, it gave me some validation from my peers that they were like, oh wow, I didn't know you can sing, type of thing. And so it was a really good turning point. Then I sang through high school, and then I did the variety shows. Then my junior year, instead of singing, I emceed the show, and then I did that also my senior year.
That's
And
awesome.
so actually, even on YouTube, there is my intro video that I made to my senior year variety show of me going in. That's the video I made, like us walking onto stage. It was like the video that played before we walked in. So I found like a new passion, because it's funny, because I realized if you're singing in a show, you're usually only singing once, right? So you're only putting on that show once. But as an MC, you're back on stage over and over and over again. So you get a little bit more stage time, you get more show time. So like I found a huge love. I say I'm an MC first before I'm a singer, but I love to sing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I want to point out something to our viewers and listeners, just that, I mean, you seem to me from our interactions online and here that would you call yourself an extrovert?
Absolutely.
Okay. So now a lot of people in my community are going to say, but that's not me. I'm not an extrovert.
Sure.
And I want to say to every person, whether extrovert or introvert, I want to draw attention to what that eighth grade boy did, meaning Shawn, of course, but he did it scared.
And he wasn't an extrovert
No,
at all.
oh, he was not. He was introvert. And
Nope.
he did it scared. He did it scared. And that's half of life, y'all. Maybe 3/4 of life, just doing it and doing it scared. Yeah, and there's and we've also talked about setting up things that for which you then have to show up. That's the other half of life, is set up, and then whatever you do it, show up, do it scared. It's okay. We all go through it, and we often go through it multiple times. I love another thing that you said, Shawn, which was that you went to Second City and you did some open mics during that time. Because Second City that's like phenomenal in terms of stand-up comedy and improv. And I would imagine was very freeing and very educational and helpful, and also probably very intimidating, I would suspect. And
Yeah.
then you set yourself up it sounds to me like in a really great way. You're like, I'm going to do this 5 times and I'm going to do it 4 times where I'm like, I'm going to just plan to, you don't plan to fail, but you're like, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to give my all. But if I fail, it's okay. Like, these are my times to fail. Like, I'm going, this is
It's
my
pretty much
failure time.
planning with unpreparedness. That's kind of like what the mindset was. It was just like I didn't have any prepared set, and I purposely had to tell my mind not to think of material to potentially talk about, right? And so I had to literally, like, even when I was like starting to go into my mindset, like, oh, that could be kind of fun. I'm like, nope, no, don't even think about it. Don't even, and just want to go in there simply to feel those crickets, to feel like, because that's the biggest hump of stand-up comedy, is that people go, it is extremely difficult.
Yes.
And that is the biggest hump to go over, is like, you think that sometimes that what you're going to say is going to be hilarious, and then you go up there and it's just like it gets zero response whatsoever, and that right there is what essentially plays into the rest of your set, because it just boom, it's like that knockout punch, and you don't know what to do moving forward, because you're like, is the next thing I'm going to say funny, or like, is everything that I prepared just completely just bullshit? And so
Yes.
I went in there, like, I listened to a lot of like interviews of stand-up comedians, and like literally, if you listen to any stand-up comedian, they say, if you go up and do stand-up, you're going to bomb. Like, that is just a natural rite of passage. It is 100% a certainty. It's like one of two things: either A, you go up on stage for the first time and you bomb completely, or B, you do really well, and then like your next 10 sets you bomb. And so it's like,
Babe Ruth, right? Babe Ruth did not, he had a lot more strikeouts than he did home runs.
Yeah. And or Michael Jordan. I'm not a baseball guy, but I had the same birthday as Michael Jordan, so I know a lot more Michael Jordan facts. And so it's like he says, like, everyone talks about about his greatest success, and he was just like, no one knows that I missed 9,000 shots. Right. And
that's not the
everyone
glory.
And I'm like, but again, it's like he had to miss those 9,000 shots to get those game winners. So it's just a matter of, again, it's just showing up and going for it, and that really is the biggest thing. But
we now interrupt our regular programming for a special announcement. I'd like to invite you to take our free 3-day Vocal Foundation training course. You can just go to the ahighernote.com website and click on the red button that's at the top of the page, the front page, or at the bottom of pretty much any page on our site. This free course is for any singer who wants to grow your vocal skills and performance confidence and basically get from point A to point B faster than your typical weekly lesson learning will get you there, because you'll be dedicating a little bit of time that'll go a long, long way for your voice and for making your vocal dreams into your reality. So you can pause this video and go straight over to ahighernote.com, click on the big red button that says take our free Vocal Foundations training course, and you can sign up for it. It will be delivered right to your email inbox. Thanks for listening, and now we'll return to our program with Shawn the Showman.
It's just a matter of, again, it's just showing up and going for it, and that really is the biggest thing. The mental block and the confidence game, that's the biggest thing that I've learned to overcome and navigate. And now I have a strong control over my own personal confidence, so that when I want to do something or go into something, I know how to get my mindset there to make the right steps to get me towards where I want to go. It's just a matter of, again, it's just showing up and going for it, and that really is the biggest thing.
Okay, Shawn, you have led me into our next question then. I appreciate that.
All about segues. All about segues.
All about the segue. Okay, so based on these things we've talked about, embracing the crickets, don't let them freeze you. You're I took a sailing class. The first thing they taught us was to capsize, because that's what freaks everybody out. And
That's serious.
and then and if you don't get control, you're dead in the water. Same, and that expression, dead in the water, you know that somebody was thinking that the first time you bombed. Somebody's sitting, your friend is sitting, who went through Second City with you, sitting in the audience going, oh man, he's dead in the water. And then you learn to pull yourself up. Okay, so what is one thing that you have learned about getting that mindset back? Because everybody deals with that. The fear of the stage. They're afraid of the stage fright. Right? It's like, even getting there, I can't even do it because I'm afraid of the stage fright. So that would be one area you might be able to address or want to address. The other one might be like, okay, you're there, the crickets are cicadas. They're at cicada level, and you're in Dallas, so you know Texas is full of cicadas. So it's deafening, and that's
Texas
all you
is
can
full
hear.
of all sorts of bugs that are just ginormous.
That's
for no
true.
reason.
I grew up in Houston, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
that humidity drives the whole different. I already know. I've done a lot of weddings in Sugar Land in Missouri City, so yeah. I know the feels.
Hot as blazes. So all right, so connected to this area, what's one tip, exercise, mindset thing, something that could help people face that fear so it doesn't turn into paralysis? Maybe, or you can address it however you'd like, if there's something that has come to your mind, but that would be a really cool thing.
Yeah, I kind of computed to, I guess, a few things. I think the biggest thing, though, and I think this is like the main one, is that you cannot invoke change doing the same thing, right? It's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? So you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone in order to invoke change. Now, when it comes to your self-confidence, like, you can't expect the world to give you your self-confidence. You just can't, no one's going to give that to you, right? And so, like, a lot of times, and a lot of times I see this in karaoke, right? Karaoke is not a competition. Karaoke is not a contest. You have people that usually have to get drunk in order for them to even go on stage and just sing their song, because they just get to a point where it's not that they're just confident, they just don't care. And so a lot of times you have those self-conscious singers that go up, and immediately the first thing they do is they apologize. They apologize if it's going to sound bad, and they apologize like, oh, it's the, not being able to sing it well. And I'm like, don't do that. Why are you letting the audience into your head? That makes you're almost telling them to not like you before you even start. And it's one of those things where it's like, don't let the world into your bad thoughts. Don't give them even the chance or the idea to disregard you or not even give you a chance or to listen to you, right? Because a lot of times people are feeding the results that they end up getting, right? And so if you feed somebody the result like, oh, I'm not going to sound good, they're going to be going into, he's not going to sound good. So you just got to do it. Just go up there and do it unapologetically, and whatever result breeds, you just live with that result, and that's it. Don't apologize for you putting yourself out there. So ultimately, it's just,
that's right.
If you
I like what you just said. Don't apologize for putting yourself out there, because 9 million people are not putting themselves out there. You are. That's so courageous, and don't apologize for it.
Thank you. And it's one of those things. If somebody doesn't like you, it's like, just know, even the best performers in the world will never bat 1,000, ever. You will, and that ironically is a baseball reference, but it's
that's right.
But like, nobody bats 1,000, and you cannot please everybody. It's just that's just the world of entertainment, because everybody has their genre, right? And so, it's one of those things where you can't go on the stage where you're trying to be like, oh, I want to get everybody to like me. You're just not. And if you do get everyone to like you, great. That's just a bonus. That's just a bonus incentive that you can just feel grateful for afterwards. But ultimately, not every show is going to be like that.
Yes.
So ultimately, it's just a matter of A, again, showing up, but B, don't give anybody the chance to feed your own insecurities back to you. I think that is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Almost everybody deals with the imposter complex,
Mm-hmm.
but typically speaking, people will accept the best of you at face value. It's you inside that's like, but I know that I'm crappy at this, or but you're usually not. You're right. You're predisposing people when you apologize in advance, or you say verbally what your insecurities are, because generally speaking, people are going to think that you're going to be fine at whatever it is. And if you don't, people generally want you to win.
That's funny. I'm so happy you said that, because the world is actually more willing to receive you than deny you. And most people think that they live in a world where everyone's going to deny you. And so it's such an important thing that you just said, because the funny thing is if you don't give somebody a reason to deny you, they're going to more than likely receive you. So, it's and matter of it again. Yes, don't apologize for it. And if somebody, and it's so rare in the world that you can go up on stage and just bomb, and somebody's gonna come up to you and be like, "Why did you go up on stage? Like, you suck." Like, it's just so rare of a situation. And if that person happens, if that situation happens, and you actually meet that person, who is that person? Who is that person to really give you any sense of value? You know what I mean? What are they doing? And a lot of times it's just projected. It's just projected nonsense that has nothing to do with you. So I'm glad. I'm really happy you said that, because it's very, very important that people need to understand.
Yeah, I agree. Well, okay, Shawn, we have 4 minutes left, because I like to keep these to 30 minutes. That's why I call them one thing 30-minute interviews. So,
Sure.
all right. In that time, I'm hoping that you'll be able to share with us real briefly one thing you're working on right now, in terms of your projects, your career, your voice, however you want to address that. And then tell people what it is that you have on offer today for anyone who's interested. Okay, so what's something you're working on?
Yeah, I'm going to try and compress this as much as I can. So after I moved here to Texas, I came to move my book of business out here, but I developed a business venture around my love for karaoke, and it was a singing competition for the entire DFW Metroplex called Metro Icon. And so Metro Icon was the first ever, or first of its kind, Metroplex singing competition. It wasn't locally central for just one city. DFW is a giant region. It's 7 million people. It's huge. And so any city that has over 200,000 people is technically considered a metropolitan city. So there's so many cities and towns that have well over 200,000 people. So I developed Metro Icon, which was a singing competition that gathered singers at karaoke nights, and then those singers went through a legitimate singing competition. And I had real judges that were performers and musicians and producers that on kind of a wide scale of within the industry. And it really brought out the artists in karaoke singers. And so, which goes over that stigma that karaoke singers are not artists, and it's just not true. So this venture was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. And on top of that, I had to do this venture. I started working on it in July, and then my preliminary started September 12th. And so in the speed that I got this done, aside from that, I did this entire venture with zero corporate sponsorships and capital funding. I pretty much did this. I found the money some way and still paid my bills. So it was something that I, a random spark of an idea that I had, and I just kind of started showing up on one variable to the next, and then the vision just became so clear that I just became so confident that I can do it. But then it became one of those things where, like, I have to see it through, because there were so many people that were downplaying it or didn't see this end result and didn't think I was going to get to a finale. And I'm like, you know what? I need to get to a finale now. And it was a wonderful thing, because I even got those naysayers. I even went up to them and handed them tickets to the finale. I'm like, hey, you should come check out the show that you never thought was going to happen. So, seeing that all the way through, and seeing not just the vision come alive, but seeing the impact be much greater than the vision itself was probably one of the most profound experiences. And it was the most difficult of times, even just outside financially and just the general struggles. I was just going through the hardest of hardships, also being just a newcomer in Texas, So my biggest project right now is the redevelopment. So I started the Metro Icon podcast. I have the first episode already uploaded on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Buzzsprout, but then I have the video episode on YouTube as well. So people can go check out episode 1 of the Metro Icon podcast. But all of it is to pretty much create a stronger platform for the brand of Metro Icon to develop a limited docu-series that tells the story of me starting this competition as this Texas newcomer. And so, that's my thing right now. That's what I'm working on, is to make pitches to larger production houses to get this story told, but ultimately to buy into the licensing that develops the competition to do a second series that would be a reality show, and hopefully hopefully have that trickle to do another reality show that has nothing to do with the competition itself, but actually to do with my relationship and what's going to be happening with that coming this summer. So
interesting, intriguing.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger.
Yes. So because it's my relationship itself it's its own story. It's a very, very delicate story. Me being first off, I'm South Indian, and not a lot of people even just know that. Looking at me, they think that I'm some sort of mixed bag of everything. And so
my guess was going to be Sri Lankan, but
that's actually, Sri Lanka is closest to the state that my family is from, which is Kerala. So being a showman itself is something that I have to explain all the time of what it is, what is a showman. That I even have a video, what really is a showman. And so being a showman, which is a professional role that is just so rare, I feel like I'm the only Indian showman that exists, and I believe that, especially within my own community. So there, with my community, there comes a lot of expectations, and it's a very traditionalistic mindset and stuff. So, and I still to this day find a lot of struggle just navigating, within my community and my professional field. But my relationship comes with a lot of baggage, and so I'm, introducing that to my family is a very sensitive thing. So I'm focusing on Metro Icon first, but once I have somebody that's willing to invest in me with that, they're going to want to just know my story in every aspect. So that's kind of the big picture of what I'm working on. The biggest thing is right now is telling the story of Metro Icon, getting this limited docu-series created, because I documented almost everything from the start of the competition. I literally have so much footage. So it's a matter of just cycling and finding all that clips, and all I have to do is then just pretty much shoot the testimonials of the people who were involved, and as well my side of the story, and get the story told, and then from there develop the series to do a second round, which is just going to be bigger and better.
That's so awesome, Shawn. You have such big dreams and big ideas. I'm in your corner.
I appreciate
really cool.
that. Bless you, and I'm in yours too. I love what you're doing with Higher Note. I think I when I looked into just the organization itself, I think this is such a beautiful thing, because people have such a hard time finding their voice, and they know they have it. They know they have it. They just don't know how to push it out, right? And it's funny because everyone says sing from your diaphragm, but there is a substance under your diaphragm, and that is the confidence that pushes your diaphragm.
That's good. Yes, yeah. That's so. It's as an instructor, you know, most of the people who come to me, and I'll say, you know, have you ever been told sing from your diaphragm? No, yeah, every single one, yes. And I'll say, where's your diaphragm? The crickets come. So nobody even knows. But you're right. There's the gut. And I don't mean the literal
Your gut literally sits below your diaphragm.
It does. It literally sits right underneath it. But yeah, and I don't mean the literal gut though. I mean the, you know, the kind of who you are, that kind of Hebrew type of.
You don't have to know who you are to sing from your gut. You don't. You can have literally. Yeah, you don't need to know who you are to sing from your diaphragm. You just need to overcome all the, let's just call it the bacteria within your gut. You just have to overcome that.
To follow that metaphor.
Yeah, I'm really good with metaphors. And that's why I'm such a good MC, is because I know how to. And I graduated in copywriting from school, so like, that's why I'm really good with the one-liners. But anyway,
but let's stop with bacteria. Okay, let's not go any further than bacteria. Okay.
My offer.
Yes, I want to hear. Yes, tell about what your offer is, and then I'll tell them how to get it.
To all the amazing listeners and viewers that came into this enlightening conversation with Natalie and myself. If you are interested to try and find some answers in your goals, your personal goals within singing, within artistry, or to find the entrepreneurship within your artistry, I'm offering actually a free one-on-one consultation. And if you would like more consultations from there, we can discuss like kind of a package deal, especially coming from Higher Note. You won't be charged full price, but this first one will be absolutely free. And it'll be a 45-minute one-on-one conversation where we're going to kind of break down, you know, what you are currently working towards, but what are you struggling with? What are the challenges that are going through, whether it be personal. And literally, there's nothing that you can share with me that is ever going to freak me out. I work in the entertainment industry. I've worked in the club life and the private event life, and I have seen and heard and been part of the craziest situations you can possibly imagine. So ultimately, you can know that you are speaking to a completely unbiased and unjudgmental party that is really going to listen to you. And what we're going to do is I'm going to simply just kind of ask you a few questions that are going to, figure out what mindset are you currently in, and what are you trying to accomplish, and what steps are you currently doing to try and get to those goals, and are you on the right wave, or are you pretty much swinging at waves trying to knock them backwards and you're getting nowhere, if that makes sense. So it's a one-on-one with me, and it doesn't matter what field you're in. It might not even be towards singing or artistry or anything. It literally can be anything. If you want to go into baking, if you want to go be a lawyer, be a doctor, whatever it is. Like I might not be the person that has all the answers, but I'm definitely going to give you a perspective. And I'm definitely going to get you at least thinking about some of the practices maybe, or just your general mindset of what you're in. And you'll at least get something out of it. You won't leave with it as it being a waste of 45 minutes.
This is fantastic, Shawn. Thank you so much. And everybody, if you would like to get a hold of Shawn's time and get into his calendar, then I want you to go to the form that you see either right here or right here, right on this page. It's going to be one of these two places, probably, or maybe down there. And just put your name and your email address in there, and instantly you'll have a Calendly link that you can use to set up a one-on-one time with Shawn. And then you'll also get an email in your inbox that confirms that, and that you'll get one from Shawn and you'll get one from me, just to make sure that everything is syncing and you get to be able to connect with Shawn.
Yes, go through the form. I messed that up. Go through the form.
You didn't mess it up. I'm gonna edit that back in. So, but folks, this is such an amazing opportunity, as you have already come to see from just this brief time that we've had with Shawn Cade, the entertainer. Shawn has a wide variety of experiences in not only entertainment, not only in singing, but we didn't even touch on his songwriting. And we've only on the peripheral, like, talked about his skill with discussing mindset. And I really believe that if you're someone who is interested in going further into the entertainment field, or in any way, that Shawn could be an amazing resource for you. And, at least for the one opportunity. I mean, what a gift. That's a gift. So I am shamelessly plugging this to my community. So, and you guys all know already that I have, specific to singers, a singing strategy session. But I want any of you who are interested, you know what? I may not be the best fit for you. Shawn may be a better fit for you. He may give you the rump kicking that you need. And it's like, I'm a big believer in fit, of finding a coach that fits, finding instructors that fit. I mean, because I've had experiences myself where I've put myself in a situation or been drawn into a situation where it was not the right fit, and it did not, it just didn't flourish as much as it could have. So
I feel that. And it's vice versa. I might be a little bit too harsh, or I might be a little bit too blunt, and you need a calming, beautiful presence like Natalie to help navigate you to the right road. So, but I believe that, yes, it's all about the right fit.
But take Shawn up on his offer and just check it out and see. And if you have questions that you think maybe he could answer, and it sounds to me like, even if he can't answer them, he can help you sort through those questions.
Or find the resources. Hopefully
and
point you in the
find
direction of the resources.
And brainstorm resources with you. So you cannot lose. You cannot lose by
that is the situation that I always try to breed in every business result. If I'm ever working creating a business plan for somebody, it is, even if I don't work out for you, you will not lose. Even if what I'm trying to bring to you doesn't completely flourish. And that's what I did with Metro Icon, which, ultimately didn't help me profit, but I wasn't trying to profit. I was trying to breed results. So, that's the biggest thing, is that no matter what, you're not going to get a losing equation out of me. You're going to get at least something out of it. And at least it'll be, something where you won't say that's a waste of time or you lost something.
That's right. So go put your name in the form.
In the form.
Wherever it ends up on the page after it gets all edited. So, Shawn, thank you so much for spending time with me today and spending time with the A Higher Note community, and for being just present with us and showing up.
Yes,
for showing up.
And no, thank you. Thank you, Natalie. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for anybody that allows me to give a platform to at least tell my story and, hopefully, give something out to the world. That's ultimately what I'm trying to do. But thank you also for all the work that you've been doing with Higher Note, and also giving me the chance to get to know each other, because this is a connection that's going to last a lifetime.
Agreed. I definitely hope so. Agreed. So thank you, Shawn, and thank you, A Higher Note community, for spending time with us too, and for tuning in, so to speak, even though we don't tune anymore, but for being here with us and spending time. And I hope that this has also been a blessing to you and helpful to you, and that you have a great day. All right.
That's right. You tune in to Higher Note to help you tune up.
Like it. Thanks, Shawn.
You got
Word Smith. All right, don't go away,
right.
Shauna, but I'm going to stop the recording.